I'm grateful you joined us tonight. Your brain is doing something right now that most people never stop to notice. It's already beginning to sort through every emotion you felt today, filing them away in the quiet archive of sleep. You'll discover why your inner world continues its journey long after your eyes close, and understand why dreaming so deeply is not a flaw. It is a gift. Welcome to Psychology for Sleep. Wherever you are right now, perhaps in your favorite resting place, thoughts still humming softly from the day, allow yourself to settle here. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about sensitive minds and dreaming, from the neuroscience of a nervous system built to feel everything, to the way emotion transforms inside sleep, to the quiet truth of why your dreams have always been this vivid. This thoughtful journey through the science of sensitive minds builds a bridge for every person who has ever felt too much and wondered why. A gentle subscribe, like, or sharing creates a pathway for more searching souls to discover this space and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time. Your presence here means more than you know. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let the thoughts of the day drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your inner world slowly dimming its brightness. Emotions dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. About 1 in 5 people on Earth carries a nervous system wired differently from the rest, known as highly sensitive people, or HSPs. They process information more deeply than average, not just emotionally, but neurologically. The trait, first identified by psychologist Elaine Aron in the mid-1990s, is called sensory processing sensitivity, and it appears across more than 100 species in the animal kingdom, from fruit flies to horses to humans. It is not a disorder, not a weakness, and not simply shyness. It is a biological variation in how deeply the brain processes everything it encounters. And tonight, we are exploring what that means when the lights go out and the dreaming begins. Sensory processing sensitivity is present in approximately 15 to 20% of the population, and researchers believe it has persisted through human evolution because it confers certain advantages. Highly sensitive people tend to notice subtleties that others miss. A slight change in tone, a shift in the emotional atmosphere of a room, the unspoken feeling beneath a conversation. This deep noticing requires more neural resources and more time. And when that same careful, thorough processing turns inward during sleep, the result is a dream life, unlike anything the average sleeper experiences. For years, sensitivity was treated as a personality quirk or a product of upbringing. But brain imaging research has changed that understanding. Studies using functional MRI have shown that the brains of highly sensitive people respond more strongly to emotional images, social cues, and subtle environmental changes than the brains of less sensitive individuals. The regions that light up include the insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, and areas involved in attention, self-awareness, and integration of sensory information. This is not metaphor. The sensitive brain is structurally and functionally distinct. The insula is a region deep inside the brain involved in interoception, the ability to feel and interpret internal body states. In HSPs, this region shows higher activation in response to emotional and sensory stimuli. Scientists believe heightened insular activity contributes to the HSP experience of feeling emotions physically. The tightness in the chest at a sad movie, the physical warmth of a kind word, the way music can feel like it enters the body rather than just the ears. During dreams, when sensory filtering is reduced, this same insula continues to be active. Highly sensitive people also show stronger activation in the hippocampus and the amygdala, two regions critical to memory formation and emotional processing. The hippocampus organizes memories by context, time, and emotional weight. The amygdala flags experiences as significant or threatening. In the HSP nervous system, the threshold for what gets flagged is lower. More experiences are recorded as significant, more details are retained, and during sleep, all of that carefully recorded material becomes the raw fabric of dreams. Research from the University of California, Santa Barbara, found that at rest, after something emotionally evocative, highly sensitive people's brains showed unusually strong connectivity between the hippocampus and the precuneus, a region associated with episodic memory retrieval and self-referential thought. The authors described what they observed as a pattern suggesting depth of processing. In simple terms, the HSP brain does not stop examining an experience after it ends. It continues working on it, contextualizing it, connecting it to related memories, turning it over quietly, even during rest. The same study found weaker connectivity between the insula and the hippocampus in highly sensitive individuals. This particular circuit is associated with habitual cognitive processing, the brain's tendency to reduce unfamiliar experiences to familiar categories. Less activity here means fewer shortcuts. The highly sensitive brain is less likely to filter an experience into a pre-existing box and more likely to sit with its full complexity. That complexity does not disappear when the person falls asleep. It arrives in the dream. Sensory processing sensitivity comprises three distinct components that researchers have consistently identified. The first is aesthetic sensitivity, a heightened awareness of beauty, pattern, and subtle sensory detail. The second is ease of excitation, a tendency to become overwhelmed by intense or prolonged stimulation. The third is low sensory threshold, a lower baseline for noticing stimuli that others do not register. All three of these components are active during waking life, and all three shape the texture and intensity of dreaming for those who carry the trait. Genetic research has found support for a heritable component to sensory processing sensitivity. Studies suggest that the trait runs in families and has a biological basis involving specific variations in genes related to serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, the neurotransmitters that regulate emotional tone, reward, and arousal. This is not simply upbringing or learned behavior, though environment also plays a role. The sensitivity is, at its foundation, a feature of the nervous system itself, and the nervous system does not go offline during sleep. Here is what that means for dreaming. The highly sensitive nervous system brings into sleep a larger, more emotionally textured archive of the day. It has noticed more, felt more, and retained more than a less sensitive system would have. During the dream state, the brain draws upon this archive. The result is not just more vivid imagery. It is more complex emotional narratives, more intricate sensory detail, more characters, more attention, more resolution. The sensitivity that makes waking life sometimes overwhelming is, in the sleeping mind, a source of richness. Sleep itself is divided into cycles, each lasting roughly 90 minutes. Within each cycle, the brain passes through several stages: light, non-rapid eye movement sleep, deep, non-rapid eye movement sleep, and rapid eye movement sleep, or REM. Dreams that are remembered, vivid, and emotionally complex occur predominantly during REM sleep. The longer into the night, the longer each REM period becomes. Most emotional dream content occurs in the final hours of a full night of sleep. In the long, late REM stages that unfold quietly in the early morning. During REM sleep, the brain displays activity patterns remarkably similar to waking consciousness. The visual cortex, emotion centers, and narrative-building regions become highly active. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational oversight, self-monitoring, and critical thinking, becomes less active. This is one reason dreams feel so real and so emotionally immediate. The part of the brain that would say this is not rational is quiet. The part that feels, imagine, and narrates is awake. Research published in the Journal of Neuroscience has shown that during REM sleep, the medial prefrontal cortex and limbic structures, including the amygdala, communicate through rhythmic theta oscillations. These theta waves, cycling at 4 to 12 times per second, appear to help the brain process emotional memories, including fear-associated ones. For highly sensitive people who accumulate more emotionally significant memories throughout the day, this theta band processing during REM sleep may be more extensive, more effortful, and more vivid in its dreaming expression. The continuity hypothesis of dreaming, one of the most widely supported theories, proposes that dream content reflects waking life concerns and emotional preoccupations. A review published in the Journal of Sleep Research described dreams as a cognitive rehearsal space, a place where the brain replays and tests responses to experiences that mattered. For the highly sensitive person, whose waking life is experienced with more emotional depth and complexity, the material available for this rehearsal is richer and more emotionally weighted than average. Neuroscientists have also documented what is sometimes called the sleep to forget, sleep to remember hypothesis. During REM sleep, the emotional content of a memory and the factual content of the same memory are processed differently. The factual details, what happened, when, where, are strengthened and consolidated. The emotional intensity attached to those details is gradually softened. This process is thought to be one of the main ways sleep protects mental health. For sensitive people who tend to carry strong emotional tones attached to everyday events, this nightly emotional regulation is not a luxury. It is essential. The amygdala plays a central role in this process. During waking life, the amygdala evaluates incoming experiences and flags those it considers emotionally significant. In highly sensitive individuals, this evaluation is set to a lower threshold. More experiences are flagged as important. More details are tagged for emotional review. During REM sleep, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex work in dialogue, with theta oscillations helping to quiet the emotional charge attached to flagged memories while preserving their factual content. This nightly negotiation is more active in the HSP nervous system. People who score high on measures of sensory processing sensitivity report higher dream recall frequency than those who score low. This makes scientific sense. Dream recall is strongly linked to the amount of attention paid to internal experience during waking life, a practice that highly sensitive people naturally engage in, often without trying. The same tendency to notice inner states, to sit with feelings rather than dismiss them, to reflect on experience. This same tendency reaches forward into sleep and makes the dream world more accessible when morning comes. Research on the relationship between sensory processing sensitivity and sleep has found that HSPs tend to experience higher sleep reactivity, a term describing how easily a person's sleep is disrupted by stress, novelty, or environmental changes. A study published in 2024 found that heightened sleep reactivity mediates the relationship between sensitivity and insomnia symptoms. In other words, the same nervous system that notices more also monitors sleep itself more carefully, making it more sensitive to disruption. The gift and the challenge arrive together, as they often do. Despite the tendency towards sleep disruption, research has also found something quieter and more hopeful. Highly sensitive people in supportive environments, those who received attentive, responsive care in childhood, or who currently live with low stress and emotional safety, show more adaptive sleep patterns and richer, less distressing dream content. The nervous system responds to conditions. Given the right conditions, the sensitive sleeper does not just dream intensely. The sensitive sleeper dreams beautifully. The default mode network is a set of brain regions that becomes active when we are not focused on the outside world. When we daydream, reflect, or let the mind wander, research has shown that highly sensitive individuals show stronger engagement of the default mode network than less sensitive people. During REM sleep, the default mode network is also highly active. This overlap is significant. The HSP brain, which spends more time in reflective, inward-facing processing during waking hours, brings that same inward orientation into the dream state with greater fluency. The precuneus, a region strongly associated with self-reflection, mental imagery, and the sense of being present in a narrative shows stronger connectivity with memory systems in highly sensitive brains at rest. During dreaming, the precuneus is one of the key regions involved in generating the first-person perspective, the experience of being inside the dream rather than watching it. For HSPs, who naturally inhabit their inner experiences with greater depth during waking life, this first-person immersion in the dream world may be more complete, more continuous, and more emotionally real. Dreams contain emotion at significantly higher rates than waking thought. Studies using dream diary analysis consistently find that the majority of dream content involves some emotional element, predominantly social interactions, challenges, and relational dynamics. For highly sensitive people, whose emotional antennas are calibrated to pick up relational nuances that others miss, the dream landscape naturally populates with the social and emotional material that their nervous system has been quietly processing all day. The body does not go silent during dreaming. During REM sleep, the autonomic nervous system, the system governing heart rate, breathing, and arousal, becomes more active and more variable than during deep sleep. Heart rate fluctuates, breathing shifts. In highly sensitive individuals whose autonomic nervous systems tend toward reactivity, this REM-associated variability may be more pronounced. The body, as well as the mind, participates more fully in the dream. This is why sensitive people often wake from vivid dreams with a physical sense of having been somewhere, a lingering warmth, a subtle tension, a feeling of presence. The visual cortex is active during REM dreaming, generating images from memory and imagination rather than external input. Neuroscientific research has described dreaming as a form of internally generated simulation, the brain creating a world from the inside out. For highly sensitive people who process visual and sensory detail more thoroughly during waking hours, this internally generated simulation draws from a richer sensory library. Colors in HSP dreams may be more saturated, sounds more layered, textures more tangible. The simulation runs on the same material the sensitive mind has been collecting all day. It is worth pausing here, at the threshold of this journey, to notice what has already emerged. The sensitive nervous system is not malfunctioning during sleep. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, processing deeply, noticing thoroughly, reviewing what mattered. The dream world of a highly sensitive person is a reflection of the brain's most distinctive quality brought into the sleeping hours. What follows, in the facts ahead, is the story of how that deeply feeling mind continues its gentle, essential, and beautiful work in the dark. Take a deep breath and feel this. Every memory your mind held today, every moment that mattered, every feeling that lingered past its cause, is being sorted right now while you rest. Your brain is an ecosystem, processing in silence, neurons firing softly in the dark, connections strengthening, emotions gently losing their edge. Feel the weight of your body here, the quiet rhythm of your breath. You are not just resting, you are healing. Now, we continue. Some researchers describe REM sleep as a form of overnight emotional therapy, a period during which emotionally charged memories are revisited in a neurochemical environment, notably different from waking life. During REM, levels of norepinephrine, a stress-related chemical, drop significantly. Memories can be encountered without the same biochemical urgency that accompanied them during the day. For highly sensitive people who carry more emotionally significant material, this nightly processing may run longer and work more thoroughly than for the average sleeper. A review published in Sleep Medicine described the connection between emotional dysregulation and REM sleep disruption. When REM sleep is fragmented or reduced, the overnight resolution of emotional distress is impaired. The brain does not complete its softening of emotional memories. This can contribute to prolonged emotional reactivity the following day. For the HSP nervous system, which depends more heavily on this nightly emotional processing, adequate REM sleep is not simply restful, it is functionally necessary for emotional balance. The threat simulation theory of dreaming, proposed by neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo, suggests that one function of dreams is to simulate potentially challenging situations so the brain can rehearse responses before those situations arise in waking life. Highly sensitive people, who tend toward vigilance and careful anticipation, may engage this rehearsal function more frequently. This can manifest as dreams with interpersonal tension, subtle conflict, or navigating complex emotional dynamics. Not nightmares, exactly, but scenarios that feel demanding even when they are not explicitly frightening. The complementary flip side of this rehearsal theory is equally applicable to sensitive dreamers. The same simulation capacity that runs challenge scenarios also runs beauty scenarios. Moments of connection, wonder, aesthetic pleasure, and emotional resonance. Sensitive people tend to have dreams of exceptional beauty as well as exceptional challenge. The dynamic range of the sensitive dreamer is wide in both directions. The brain that notices the difficult also notices the sublime. Both arrive in sleep. One feature of HSP dreams that sensitive people themselves often report is heightened empathy within the dream. Dreams involving other characters feel less like watching those characters and more like inhabiting their experience simultaneously. This resonates with what fMRI research has found about the HSP waking brain: stronger activation in mirror neuron systems, in the regions associated with empathy, perspective taking, and emotional attunement. The empathy does not clock out when sleep begins. It transforms, unfolds, and finds new material in the dream narrative. Some researchers have noted that individuals with stronger reflective processing tendencies may have slightly more experiences of lucid dreaming, the state of being aware that one is dreaming while the dream continues. This link has not been firmly established in the literature, and more research is needed, but it is an intriguing possibility. The precuneus, which supports both self-reflection and the first-person perspective of dreaming, is thought to be involved in the transition to lucid awareness. For HSPs, who tend naturally towards self-reflection, this neural architecture may be more available. Emotional memory consolidation during sleep follows a selective process. Not every emotion from the day receives equal processing. Experiences with stronger emotional significance receive more overnight attention. They are replayed more frequently, integrated more deeply into existing memory network, and connected more richly to prior experience. For HSPs, who assign significance to a wider range of daily experiences than non-HSPs, more material enters this consolidation queue. The emotional landscape processed during sleep is correspondingly larger. The hippocampus plays a coordinating role in this selective consolidation. During REM sleep, it coordinates the reactivation of emotionally tagged memories, sending them back to the cortex for integration. Research has described this process as the brain's way of updating its model of the world, revising understanding based on new experiences. For highly sensitive people, whose hippocampus shows stronger connectivity with reflective processing regions even at rest. This update may be more comprehensive and more nuanced. The world model of the sensitive sleeper is refined every night. A fascinating phenomenon known as the day residue effect describes how experiences from the day, especially emotionally significant ones, tend to appear in dreams within the following 1 to 2 nights. Psychologist Michael Schredel has studied this extensively, finding that the probability of an experience appearing in a dream correlates with how emotionally significant it was during waking life. For highly sensitive people who experience more waking events as emotionally significant, the day residue effect is more active. The dream diary of an HSP is populated with finer-grained detail of lived experience. Dreams are not random. This has become one of the clearest findings in dream science over the past 2 decades. Dream content correlates meaningfully with waking concerns, emotional preoccupations, and unresolved interpersonal situations. The continuity hypothesis is well supported. Your dreams reflect your waking life, not as a literal replay, but as an emotional and narrative continuation. For the highly sensitive person, whose waking life is experienced with more emotional depth and complexity, the dream narrative is correspondingly more elaborate and more emotionally true. The relationship between daytime emotional experience and nighttime dreaming is bidirectional. Dreams influence waking mood and emotional processing, not just the other way around. A night of rich, emotionally engaging dreaming tends to leave the sensitive person with heightened emotional perceptiveness the following morning. A softer alertness, a slightly more porous sense of inner life. This is not overstimulation. It is the nervous system completing a cycle. The sensitivity that fed the dreams during the night re-emerges the next morning. Gently recalibrated, serotonin plays a complex and important role in the dreaming brain. During REM sleep, serotonin levels decrease significantly, a neurochemical shift that is thought to allow more fluid, associative, and emotionally open mental processing. This reduction in serotonin is part of what makes REM dreams feel different from waking thought. Less linear, more connected by feeling than by logic. For the HSP nervous system, which is partly defined by serotonin-related genetic variations, this REM-associated shift in serotonin may contribute to the particular emotional texture of sensitive dreaming. Acetylcholine, another key neurotransmitter, rises dramatically during REM sleep. It is thought to facilitate the vivid, scene-rich quality of dream imagery, the way a dream feels spatially real, visually detailed, and temporally continuous. Research has shown that substances that increase acetylcholine levels can intensify dream vividness and recall for highly sensitive people who notice fine sensory detail during waking life. The acetylcholine-rich environment of REM sleep may produce a dream world of unusual visual and sensory richness. The claustrum is a thin sheet of neurons deep in the brain, sometimes described as a gateway for integrating sensory information across different modalities. It appears in brain imaging studies of highly sensitive individuals as one of the regions showing stronger activity during sensory processing. Some neuroscientists hypothesize that the claustrum may also play a role in binding dream elements together into a coherent experience, creating the feeling that the dream is happening in a unified space rather than as fragmented images. For the sensitive brain, this integration may be more elaborate. Halfway through our early fact, a picture is forming. The highly sensitive nervous system is not just experiencing more during the day and then depositing more material into sleep. It is also processing that material more thoroughly during sleep through stronger connections between memory, emotion, and self-reflection. The dream life of the HSP is not an accident or an artifact. It is the natural continuation of the deepest feature of the sensitive mind, the capacity to feel and process experience with unusual completeness. The night is not a break from that processing. The night is where it deepens. You're still here, still somewhere between listening and resting, between thinking and dreaming. Take one slow breath. Notice the quiet between thoughts. We're exploring the very thing that makes you feel so much and discovering why that same thing makes your sleep world so rich. Let's drift onward together. Dream content analysis studies have found that women tend to report more emotionally complex and interpersonally rich dreams than men. On average, a similar pattern emerges when comparing high sensitivity and low sensitivity individuals. Regardless of gender, HSPs report dreams with more emotional nuance, more social dynamics, more sensory detail, and more aesthetic quality. This convergence is not coincidental. Both patterns point to the same underlying factor: the depth of emotional processing during both waking and sleeping hours. The phenomenon of emotional dream elaboration describes how, during REM sleep, a simple emotional memory can become a complex narrative. The brain does not just replay what happened. It embeds the memory in context, connects it to similar emotional experiences from the past, and creates a story that explores its implications. For highly sensitive people, this elaboration process is particularly rich. A small kindness experienced during the day may become, in the dream, an entire narrative about belonging and trust. A moment of aesthetic beauty may unfold into a whole dreamed world. Research on dream intensity and personality has found consistent correlations between openness to experience, a personality dimension associated with imaginative richness, aesthetic sensitivity, and intellectual curiosity, and the vividness and complexity of dream life. Highly sensitive people tend to score high on openness to experience. This convergence of traits suggests that the sensitive dreamer is not just processing emotion more deeply, but also bringing more imaginative and aesthetic resources to the work of dreaming. The dream is not just processed, it is, in some sense, created. The anterior cingulate cortex, a region involved in attention, error detection, and emotional regulation, shows heightened activation in highly sensitive individuals. During dreaming, this region continues to monitor and respond to the emotional quality of the dream narrative, noticing when something feels wrong, tracking emotional tone, adjusting the dream's direction in response to its own content. In sensitive dreamers, this monitoring may be more active, contributing to the feeling that HSP dreams are not just experienced, but somehow attended to by the dreamer's own quiet awareness. There is a phenomenon sometimes called dream ego strength, the degree to which the dreamer maintains a coherent sense of self within the dream experience, capable of responding thoughtfully to dream events, rather than just being swept along by them. Researchers have found associations between reflective processing capacity and dream ego strength. Highly sensitive individuals who spend more time engaged in reflective self-awareness during waking life may carry more dream ego strength into sleep. A quieter, more present version of themselves that navigates the dream world with more intention. Nightmares are more prevalent in individuals with higher sensory processing sensitivity. Research has consistently found this association, and several explanations have been proposed. The lower threat detection threshold of the HSP nervous system may produce more challenging dream content. The stronger emotional intensity of HSP dream life means that distressing dreams, when they occur, are more intense, and the vivid recall capacity of the sensitive dreamer means that those dreams are more likely to be remembered fully upon waking. This is not a pleasant truth, but understanding it is the beginning of changing it. The same properties that make HSP dreams more intense in challenging moments also make them more healing. Research on post-traumatic growth has found that some individuals who undergo significant emotional difficulty show increased sensitivity, expanded empathic capacity, and a richer interior life following the experience. The sensitive dreamer, who processes difficulty more thoroughly during sleep, may complete emotional integration more fully, emerging from periods of challenge with a more nuanced and more gentle understanding of their own experience. Dream recall itself is a skill that varies between individuals. Studies have found that dream recall correlates with the tendency to wake during or just after REM periods, which, in turn, correlates with lighter sleep architecture. Highly sensitive people who have higher sleep reactivity tend to experience more brief waking moments during the night. While this can be experienced as a sleep disruption, it has an unexpected consequence. More frequent encounters with the dream state at the moment of emerging from it. HSPs remember more dreams, in part because they wake more gently and more often. The way a person relates to their dreams over time matters. Research has found that individuals who keep dream diaries, reflect on dream content, and treat their dreams as meaningful show greater emotional regulation benefits from dreaming than those who ignore or dismiss their dream life. For highly sensitive people, this practice of dreaming engagement comes somewhat naturally. The same reflective tendency that processes waking experience is naturally drawn to the richness of the dreamed one. The sensitivity itself invites the deepening. Here, at the halfway point of our journey, we can hold what has been discovered. The sensitive nervous system carries into sleep a richer emotional archive. It processes that archive more deeply during REM. It generates more vivid, more complex, more emotionally layered dreams. It remembers those dreams more often, and in the morning, it brings what it found back into the world. The gift is inseparable from the challenge. The depth of the sensitive dreamer's inner life does not disappear in sleep. It expands, and that expansion, tonight, is what we are gently exploring. Let yourself feel this pause. Breathe slowly. The time you spend in sleep is not time away from life. It is time inside the most private version of it. The version your nervous system is building every night. Just for you. There is no hurry in the dark, no standard to meet. Only the quiet, ongoing work of a brain designed to go deeper than most. Now we continue the journey. The relationship between sensitivity and dreaming is also a relationship between sensitivity and creativity. Many of the most creatively generative individuals across history have reported unusually vivid and meaningful dream lives. The neuroscience of dreaming suggests one reason why. The dreaming brain makes connections that the waking brain, constrained by logic and habit, cannot always reach. The highly sensitive brain, which is already more associative and more open to subtle connections during waking hours, brings those qualities into the dream space with amplified freedom. There is a kind of inner life that has always preferred depth to breadth, that sits with what is felt rather than moving quickly past it. Modern research on sensory processing sensitivity reads, in some ways, like a scientific description of that orientation. The sensitive nervous system is built for depth. It does not process shallowly, and the dreaming mind, freed from the demands of the waking world, is where that depth finds its purest expression, unconstrained by social appropriateness, undiluted by the need to appear unaffected. The neuroscience of empathy and the neuroscience of dreaming overlap in striking ways. Both involve the insular, the anterior cingulate cortex, and the mirror neuron system. Both require a willingness to enter another's emotional space, or, in the case of dreams, to enter fully into the emotional space of the dream itself. For HSPs, whose empathy runs deeper and whose filters are naturally thinner, dreaming may feel less like sleep and more like an emotional journey taken in full presence. The brain's waste clearance mechanism, sometimes called the glymphatic system, is primarily active during deep, non-rapid eye movement sleep. During this phase, fluid flows through the brain's tissue, clearing out metabolic byproducts accumulated during waking hours. Research on this system has been conducted primarily in animal studies, and its precise mechanisms in humans continue to be explored. What is well established is that deeper, less interrupted sleep supports better brain restoration. For sensitive sleepers, who are more prone to light waking, creating conditions for deeper sleep may support the REM phases that follow. Dream intensity correlates with emotional intensity in the day preceding the dream. This finding, replicated across multiple studies, aligns precisely with the HSP experience. A highly sensitive person who has had an emotionally full day, even a positively full one, tends to have more vivid dreams that night. The dreams are not a reaction to the emotions. They are a continuation of them, a second life that the emotion lives, more freely and more thoroughly. In the dark, the phenomenon of color in dreams is more common than people often believe. Research surveys suggest that the majority of people report dreaming in color, with only a small percentage consistently dreaming in black and white. But dream color intensity varies. Individuals with stronger aesthetic sensitivity and visual processing tend to report more saturated, more vivid dream colors. For the highly sensitive person, whose waking experience of color, light, and visual beauty is already more acute, the colors of the dream world may be among its most distinctive features. Sound in dreams is also subject to sensitivity. Highly sensitive people, who process auditory information more deeply during waking hours, often report that music in dreams feels unusually present. Not like remembered music, but like live music, unfolding in real time. This may be the brain's audio memory system operating freely, unconstrained by the limits of actual sound, generating experience from the inside. The sensitive ear that hears so much during the day continues to hear in sleep. The experience of waking from a vivid dream and spending some time in the liminal space between sleep and full wakefulness, a state sometimes called the hypnopompic state, is common among highly sensitive people. In this state, the dream imagery can persist for seconds or minutes after waking, lingering alongside the emerging awareness of the room, the light, the familiar surroundings. Many sensitive people report that some of their most meaningful emotional insights arrive in this threshold space. The dream's emotional content still present, their waking mind just beginning to interpret it. The relationship between empathy and dream content has been studied directly. Research has found that individuals with higher empathic tendencies tend to dream more often about other people, and those dream people tend to be more emotionally complex and relationally nuanced. For the highly sensitive person, dreams are often populated not by strangers or abstract figures, but by recognizable presences. People who mattered, people who were hurt, people who were kind. The empathy that attends those relationships during waking life follows them faithfully into sleep. Childhood experiences shape the sensitive nervous system in ways that research is still exploring. Studies have found that highly sensitive children who grow up in supportive, attuned environments develop stronger emotional regulation skills, more adaptive coping strategies, and more positive dream content in adulthood. The same genetic sensitivity that makes the child more affected by difficulty also makes the child more affected by care. The sensitive nervous system is not fragile. It is responsive, and the dream life of the adult sensitive person carries, in some form, the memory of what kind of care was given. Emotional regulation. The ability to experience difficult feelings without being overwhelmed by them is a central challenge and a central capacity for highly sensitive people. Research has consistently found that sleep quality is one of the most important factors in emotional regulation across the next day. For HSPs, the relationship runs even deeper. Poor sleep leads to emotional dysregulation, which leads to more difficulty falling asleep, which leads to less REM and less emotional processing overnight. Protecting the conditions for good sleep is, for the sensitive person, an act of deep self-care. During waking hours, the body of the highly sensitive person sometimes carries a longer physiological recovery time after emotional stimulation. The heart rate, skin conductance, and cortisol levels following an emotionally significant encounter may remain elevated longer than in less sensitive individuals. This lingering physiological arousal shapes the first stages of sleep, contributing to a more active transition into the dream state and feeding the emotional material that REM will process once the body has settled into deeper sleep. The concept of differential susceptibility in psychology describes how certain individuals are more affected by both positive and negative experiences than average. Highly sensitive people are among the clearest examples of differential susceptibility in humans. They are more harmed by adverse environments and more helped by supportive ones. In the context of dreaming, this means that the conditions of the sleeping environment matter more for HSPs: noise, temperature, light, emotional safety. All of these conditions influence the sensitive sleeper's dream world more profoundly than they influence the average sleeper's. A body of research on the positive aspects of high sensitivity has grown significantly in the past decade. Rather than focusing primarily on what is difficult for sensitive individuals, newer research examines what sensitive individuals are better at: deeper aesthetic engagement, stronger empathic accuracy, finer moral discernment, more nuanced interpersonal understanding. In the domain of sleep and dreaming, the positive framing reveals a similar truth. The sensitive person does not just have harder nights. The sensitive person also has richer ones, more layered ones, nights that the inner life uses with extraordinary depth and care. At this point in our journey, the answer to the question that began this evening is becoming clear. Why do sensitive people dream so much more intensely? Because the nervous system that generates those dreams is built for depth. Because it collects more emotional material during the day, processes it more thoroughly during the night, and draws upon richer sensory and imaginative resources in the dream state. The intensity is not a symptom. It is an expression. And tonight, you are resting inside it. Not all sensitive people experience their dream life as a burden. Many describe it as one of the most reliable gifts of their temperament, a private world of imagination, emotion, and insight that belongs entirely to them. Some report using their dreams deliberately, setting an intention before sleep, to explore a problem or emotional situation, and finding that the dream provides something unexpected in return, a new perspective, an emotional resolution, an image that contains an understanding that waking thought had not managed to articulate. Dream incubation, the practice of deliberately directing, dreaming toward a specific concern or question, has a long history in human cultures and growing scientific interest. Researchers found that thinking about a specific concern before sleep does increase the probability of dreaming about it and, in some cases, arriving at novel perspectives. For the highly sensitive person, whose dreaming mind is already engaged and active, this practice requires relatively little effort. The dream is already listening. The intention simply gives it a direction. Nighttime affective processing, the emotional work that sleep does on the feelings of the day, is measurable in the waking brain. Studies using emotional picture rating tasks before and after sleep have found that sleep reduces the emotional reactivity to previously distressing images. People rate difficult pictures as less upsetting after a full night's sleep than they did the evening before. For highly sensitive individuals, this morning, softening is often particularly noticeable. The vivid upset of yesterday evening has become, by morning, something gentler, more workable. Sleep has done its quiet labor. The relationship between creativity and dreaming is one of the most fascinating areas in sleep science. Researchers found that REM sleep specifically supports the kind of creative thinking that involves finding unexpected connections between disparate concepts. The reduced prefrontal oversight during REM allows the brain to link ideas that waking constraints would have separated. For highly sensitive people, who are already more attuned to subtle connections and associative patterns, REM sleep may represent the brain's most freely creative state, a nightly visit to the space where the most unexpected things become possible. History offers many accounts of creative breakthroughs that arrived in or near sleep. Some stories have passed into popular culture. A melody heard in a dream, an image seen at the edge of waking, a solution that appeared only after the conscious mind had gone quiet. These accounts are individual and anecdotal, and the historical details of some have been debated, but they point towards something that modern dream research increasingly supports. The dreaming mind reaches for connections the waking mind cannot always manage. For sensitive people, who dream more vividly and with more emotional complexity, this creative capacity may run deeper still. The relationship between sensory processing sensitivity and aesthetic experience is one of its most beautiful dimensions. HSPs tend to report being moved more deeply by art, music, nature, and beauty than less sensitive individuals. They may feel more physical pleasure at beautiful music, notice more in a painting. All of this aesthetic richness does not disappear when sleep comes. It continues in the dream, in the quality of light within the dream landscape, in the emotional resonance of the dream's imagery, in the way beauty and sorrow can coexist in a single dreamed moment. Sleep architecture. The pattern of sleep stages throughout the night varies somewhat between individuals with higher and lower sensory processing sensitivity. Research, primarily using self-report and some actigraphy data, has found that HSPs tend to have longer sleep onset latency, on average, and more frequent brief awakenings. These patterns reflect an active nervous system continuing its processing work into the edges of sleep. For the sensitive person who lies awake for a few minutes before sleep comes, it may be reassuring to know that the brain is not resisting sleep. It is completing its work before surrendering to it. There is a state called pre-sleep cognitive arousal, the tendency for the mind to remain active, generating thoughts and associations during the transition into sleep. This is more common in individuals with higher sensitivity and higher openness to experience. It is one of the most frequently reported sleep difficulties among HSPs. The mind does not go quiet on command. It continues processing, connecting, wondering. But this same pre-sleep activity, when it does finally give way to sleep, feeds directly into a more active and more vivid first dream cycle. Mindfulness practices, the cultivation of gentle, non-judgmental awareness of present experience, have shown consistent benefits for sleep quality in individuals with high sensory processing sensitivity. A 2023 study found that mindfulness interventions significantly reduced sleep reactivity and insomnia severity in sensitive individuals. The mechanism appears to involve reducing the cognitive and physiological arousal that delays sleep onset. For the HSP who has discovered meditation or gentle breathwork, the practice is not just calming, it is preparing the dream world for a more peaceful entry. And so, at this point in the night, the question has found its answer. Sensitive people dream more intensely because the nervous system that holds their sensitivity does not separate its waking and sleeping functions. The same brain that notices more, feels more, and processes more deeply during the day continues that same work during the night. Only now, freed from the demands of the waking world, it does so with full creative and emotional resources brought to bear. The intensity of HSP dreams is not an excess. It is the natural language of a mind that has always spoken in depth. You may be feeling very quiet now. That is perfect. The mountains take millions of years to rise. The forest does not rush to grow. Your breath does not need permission to slow. The same beautiful, careful nervous system that has been the subject of tonight's journey is exactly the nervous system that is right now, carrying you gently toward rest. You don't need to hold anything. We're almost to the final gathering of the night. Sleep is permission. For the highly sensitive person, whose waking hours are often spent managing and modulating a nervous system that notices everything, sleep offers something rare, a state in which the management can cease. The dreaming mind does not require careful presentation. It simply unfolds at full depth, with full access to the entire library of feeling and memory and imagination, and does its work. The quality of sleep in the hours before waking, the long, late REM periods, holds something that daytime rest cannot provide. Researchers have found that it is specifically this late-night REM that is richest in creative, emotionally complex dreaming. For the sensitive person who keeps to a full sleep duration, these final hours of the night hold the most vivid, the most elaborate, and often the most healing dream material of the entire cycle. Protecting those hours is one of the quietest forms of self-compassion available. The sensitive dreamer often carries the morning's dream back into the day, not as a distraction, but as an additional layer of inner information. A dream of reconciliation softens the first conversation of the morning. A dream of beauty creates a particular quality of openness in the first hours of the day. A difficult dream releases something that had been held too tightly. The dream is not separate from life. For the sensitive person, it is a companion to it. There is no wrong way to dream. There is no dream that is too vivid, too emotional, too layered, or too strange. The dream is the mind speaking its own language, the language of image and emotion and association that existed long before words did. For the sensitive person who has sometimes wondered whether their inner life is simply too much, the dream offers quiet evidence that there is no too much in the dark. The intensity is not a problem to be solved. It is a nature to be rested in. The most consistent finding across decades of HSP research is that the trait is neither positive nor negative in absolute terms. It is context-dependent. In environments of safety, warmth, and support, the sensitive person flourishes. They create more, connect more deeply, process more wisely, and rest more richly. The dream world is one of the safest environments the sensitive nervous system will ever encounter. There are no external demands there, no need to manage or modulate, only the quiet, trusted landscape of the inner world, doing exactly what it has always done. Dreams carry forward not just emotions from the day, but also the physical sensations of the body. A person who has spent a day in nature may dream of wind, of grass, of the particular quality of afternoon light. A person who has had a meaningful physical connection may dream of warmth, of closeness, of the precise texture of belonging. For the highly sensitive person who processes physical sensation with more attention and more feeling than average, these body-forward dreams are a form of tender documentation. The relationship between sensitivity and compassion is well documented in research. Highly sensitive individuals tend to score higher on measures of compassion, both for themselves and for others. In the dreaming mind, this compassion takes a quiet form. Sensitive dreamers more frequently report dreams in which conflict is resolved with care, in which difficult relationships find unexpected moments of understanding. The compassionate impulse of the waking HSP finds its expression in the dream, not just toward others, but sometimes, tenderly, toward earlier versions of the self. The dreaming brain operates in a mode that some researchers describe as associative and metaphorical, rather than literal and logical. It speaks in images and relationships rather than in explicit statements. For the highly sensitive person, who tends naturally toward metaphorical and intuitive thinking during waking hours, this dreaming mode of cognition may feel less like a departure from ordinary consciousness and more like an intensification of its most natural form. The dreaming mind and the sensitive mind are, in many ways, the same mind, simply speaking more freely. The practice of dream journaling, recording dreams shortly after waking before they fade, has measurable benefits for both dream recall and emotional insight. Research has found that people who keep dream journals show increased awareness of emotional patterns in their waking life, as well as improved ability to recognize and name their own emotional states. For highly sensitive people who process emotion with considerable depth, but who sometimes struggle to articulate that processing, dream journaling can serve as an important bridge between inner experience and understanding. The way a sensitive person enters sleep can influence the quality of their dreaming. Research on pre-sleep emotional states has found that going to bed in a state of calm acceptance correlates with more positive and more integrative dream content. For the HSP, who practices some form of pre-sleep winding down, even something as simple as acknowledging the emotions of the day and setting them gently aside, the dream world they enter is likely to be more gentle, more creative, and more healing. The experience of being moved by a dream, waking with the distinct feeling of having encountered something emotionally true, is reported far more often by highly sensitive people than by the general population. The sensitive nervous system, which knows how to be moved by beauty during waking life, brings that same capacity into sleep, and sometimes, in the deepest hours of the night, it creates something that carries the quality of beauty. En image, a feeling, a moment in the dream that arrives with the quality of a gift. Long-term research on highly sensitive people has found that those who develop a positive relationship with their sensitivity, who understand it as a trait rather than a flaw, who build environments and relationships that honor it, report significantly better life satisfaction, more fulfilling work, and more meaningful relationships. In the context of dreaming, this positive relationship with sensitivity may manifest as a more welcoming relationship with the inner world. Less resistance to the vivid, less distress at the complex, more gratitude for the richness. Dreams do not need to be interpreted to be valuable. The emotional benefit of dreaming does not depend on understanding what the dream meant. The processing happens whether or not it is analyzed. The nightly emotional regulation of REM, sleep, occurs at the neurological level, beneath the level of conscious interpretation. For the sensitive person, who sometimes feels pressure to extract meaning from every experience, the dream offers a quiet alternative. Let it be felt. Let the benefit arrive without explanation. Toward the end of sleep, in the final long REM period before waking, the dreaming brain integrates the emotional work of the entire night. It is during this phase that the most narrative, most emotionally resolved dream content tends to occur. For highly sensitive people, this final REM often contains something that feels, upon waking, like a kind of completion, not an answer, necessarily, but an acknowledgement. The nervous system has done its deepest work, and in the last minutes before the eyes open, it offers something like a quiet, in the rest. So, why do sensitive people dream so much more intensely? Because their nervous system is a more careful, more complete recorder of the day's emotional experience. Because their brains process that material more deeply during sleep. Because their dream-generating architecture, the memory systems, the emotional circuits, the empathic networks, is more active, more interconnected, and more richly resourced. And because the sensitive person brings the full depth of a waking life, lived at full sensitivity, into a dreaming life that asks for nothing less, the relationship between sensitivity and healing through sleep is perhaps one of the least discussed but most beautiful aspects of the trait. Because the HSP processes emotional material more thoroughly during the night, they also tend to complete emotional integration more fully over time. Difficult experiences, given adequate sleep and safe conditions, do not simply persist in the sensitive person's nervous system indefinitely. They are worked on, they are changed, they soften, gradually, into something that can be held. The science of highly sensitive people is still young. Elaine Aron first introduced the concept in 1997. Decades of neuroscience and sleep research have since begun to provide the biological grounding for what she described. The field is growing rapidly, with new studies appearing each year that add pieces to the picture of a nervous system that sees more, feels more, and rests more deeply than most. The understanding has not finished arriving, but what is already here is extraordinary. Among the most consistent findings in recent sensitivity research is the discovery that the trait is not a simple binary. Sensitivity exists on a spectrum, and the sensory processing sensitivity trait itself has three distinct dimensions: aesthetic sensitivity, ease of excitation, and low sensory threshold, that can be present in different proportions in the same individual. The sensitive dreamer you are is unique. The particular quality of your dreaming intensity reflects your particular profile of sensitivity, your specific way of holding the world. The insular, whose heightened activity in HSPs we encountered early in this journey, is also one of the brain regions most active during the transition between waking and dreaming. It is involved in interoceptive awareness, allowing the sleeping mind to monitor the state of the body even as the dream unfolds. For the sensitive person, this internal monitoring continues even during the deepest dreaming. A gentle, ongoing awareness of the body's condition beneath the dream narrative. The body and the dream are in quiet conversation all night. The final hours of a full night of sleep hold something that a shorter night cannot provide. The late REM periods, which occur disproportionately in the final hour or two before natural waking, are where the most complex emotional processing occurs. This is where the difficult becomes gentled, where the unresolved finds its form. For the sensitive person who sometimes cuts their night short, knowing this is not a demand, it is an invitation not to require more of yourself, but to allow more for yourself. Every sensitive person who has ever felt that their inner life was too much, too vivid, too feeling, too present, has been asking a question that sleep answers differently than the waking world does. In sleep, too much is not too much. The dreaming mind has room for everything. It has been processing intensity since the first dream occurred. It is designed for depth. It does not flinch. And tonight, your particular depth is exactly what your dreaming mind was made to hold. The science of dreams is the science of the mind at its most honest. Without the social filters of waking life, the dreaming brain speaks its most interior language. For the highly sensitive person, This language is rich. It is metaphorical and sensory, and emotionally layered. It is the language of a mind that has always paid attention to what most others walk past, and it speaks, in the dark, of everything that attention has gathered. Rest is not the absence of the sensitive mind. It is its deepest expression. The stillness that the sensitive person finds in sleep is not emptiness. It is fullness in a different key. The same richness that characterizes waking life now turned inward, freed from the demands of the external world, allowed to do what it does best. Tonight, your rest is exactly what your nervous system needs it to be. The depth is not a burden tonight. It is the gift you carry into the dark. The sensitive person who has discovered how to sleep well, who has found the conditions, the practices, the relationships that protect their sleep, has discovered something that many people search for across their entire lives. A reliable source of renewal, a private world that belongs entirely to them, a place where the intensity of their inner life is not managed but inhabited, not apologized for but honored. Sleep, for the highly sensitive person, is not just rest. It is the homecoming of a mind that has been far, far out in the world all day. And here is the truth that this night's science leads to. Simply and finally, you are not too sensitive to sleep well. You are exactly sensitive enough. The depth that has made certain things harder has also made certain things more beautiful. The nervous system that tires easily also renews most completely. The mind that feels most has also the most to offer, the quiet dark. Sleep is not the end of your sensitivity. It is where your sensitivity rests and breathes, and gently, in its own language, does its most essential work. And now, at last, that work is yours. And so, our quiet journey through the science of sensitive dreaming comes to a gentle close. We began with the discovery that 1 in 5 people carries this particular nervous system, designed to process everything more deeply. And we ended with the understanding that sensitivity in the waking hours and richness in the dreaming hours are not two separate facts. They are one. The amygdala that flags more during the day becomes the source of more complex emotional narratives at night. The insula that feels more during waking hours continues its quiet monitoring through every dream. These are not separate lives. They are the same life, lived in 2 registers. The sensitive mind reminds us that the inner world is not a lesser world. It is, in many ways, the source of the outer one. What is felt most deeply, processed most fully, and carried most carefully shapes what becomes possible when the eyes are open. Sensitivity is not a wall between the person and the world. It is a particular quality of attention, one that the sleeping mind, finally freed from managing its effects, expresses most freely and most beautifully. By pausing to understand this, we glimpse something extraordinary in what has sometimes felt like simply too much. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity of every nervous system, every sleeping mind, every person right now drifting toward the same dark place where the day becomes a dream. You are not alone in your sensitivity. You are part of a quiet community of minds that have always felt the world more completely, that carry more and offer more because they notice more. Let your entire being dissolve into the gentleness that your particular mind has been searching for all day. The quiet that waits beneath all the feeling, where there is no demand, no management, only rest. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. If this gentle exploration of the sensitive mind helped you relax or find your way towards sleep tonight, a quiet like or subscribe helps another sensitive soul, someone searching for the science behind what they feel, find their way here too. One quiet tap, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled inward tonight, through corridors that most people never pause to notice. The careful, thorough, feeling mind that has been the subject of this journey is the same mind that is now, quietly, releasing its hold on the day. You can allow these thoughts of dreaming and sensitivity to fade now, like the last edge of waking awareness before the room goes completely quiet, leaving only the soft, undisturbed calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the careful, attentive labor of your nervous system has finally set itself down and is simply resting. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way deep understanding carries, not with force, but with a quiet arrival into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your sensitivity will still be there. The richness of your inner world will still be turning, still noticing, still finding what is worth holding. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul, and remember, the mind that feels everything also knows, at last, how to rest. Good night.